Imagine pouring years into building an operation from the ground up, only to arrive one morning and find yourself locked out of your own creation. Most people would walk away. Steve Jobs refused to let this devastating loss dictate his future, paving the way for a remarkable return. To understand how he survived that fall, you have to look at where he started. Born in 1955 and adopted by a working-class family, he had zero wealth or corporate connections. Instead of money, he possessed an obsessive, driving curiosity about how machines worked. From a young age, his goal was to take complex technology and package it into physical tools that ordinary people could actually use in their daily lives. But ambition without resources is just an idea. He had to build his operation from nothing. In 1976, he partnered with Steve Wozniak to start a company called Apple inside a garage. They didn't have sprawling office parks, executive boards, or massive venture capital backing their work. What they did have was a specific target: to put a personal computer on every single individual desk in the world. At the time, machines with this kind of computing power were massive, incredibly expensive mainframes used by governments and corporations. The idea of a personal, accessible computer was widely dismissed as absurd. True innovation often requires ignoring the current consensus to confidently construct the tools of the future. That vision proved accurate. Apple's market share exploded, culminating in the widespread release of the Macintosh. He gained immense wealth, global recognition, and total industry dominance before his 30th birthday. Then came the shock. At just 30 years old, the board of the company he built from scratch forced him out. Losing an empire you spent your entire adult life constructing is a profoundly heavy blow. A public failure of this scale often destroys those who rely on a corporate title for their identity. For Jobs, the exile became the environment where he would refine his approach to both technology and leadership. He could have retired. Instead, he chose the difficult path of starting over entirely from scratch. He launched a new, highly advanced computing company called Next, continuing his push for cutting-edge hardware innovation. Alongside hardware, he made an unexpected pivot by purchasing a small animation studio called Pixar. Under his ownership, that studio released Toy Story, turning Pixar into a massive global cultural force. These distinct successes proved that his ability to build and lead was intrinsic to who he was as a person, completely independent of the Apple brand name. Years later, Apple was struggling to survive. Hemorrhaging money and facing imminent bankruptcy, the company desperately needed clear, visionary direction. He returned to take control of his struggling company, quickly shifting its trajectory with the release of the new iMac. He followed that success by introducing the iPod, a device that restructured how the world consumed music. Then came the iPhone, an all-in-one device that consolidated communication, internet access, and media into a single interface. The release of the iPad rounded out a modern ecosystem of devices used daily by millions across the globe. The management strategies and technical breakthroughs he developed during his decade away from Apple provided the necessary foundation to execute this rapid succession of world-changing products. Steve Jobs famously noted that the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. His story demonstrates a clear reality. Failure is simply an event that happens to you, while quitting is a permanent identity you choose. You may lose a job, you may lose a company, or all your financial capital, but those losses cannot permanently stop you if you retain an unshakable belief in your own capabilities. Ultimately, a setback only becomes permanent if you choose to stop. Subscribe to Let's Talk Real for more success stories and life-changing lessons.